Okay, so I just noticed last night that the chairman of the board's podcast did a visit with Warmoth. So I figured, why not pull out one of my Warmoths and talk about, well, I've had this for a long time, but talk about how it's ended up today, because there's a certain thing that happens when you start building your own guitars. You end up with stuff like this. I actually have two Warmoths. This one I don't quite consider complete, and I think I've had this body since 2004. But let's get into it. As you can see, this is a Telecaster body. It's mahogany. Uh, Two humbuckers. This is a JB, Seymour Duncan JB, and a JN. By the way, that stands for Jazz Blues, not Jazz Bridge or Jeff Beck. And I believe JN is Jazz Neck. I've got an orange drop capacitor in there. I forget what the value is. The neck is roasted maple. And if you look, I don't know if you can see it. And this is my cautionary tail. Yeah, you can see it. See how the headstock's cracked? Roasted maple necks. This is unfinished roasted maple. Are brittle. It's a more brittle wood because it's so dry. I'm by no means a luthier, but I'm not a hack. And this was a little bit of my beef I had with Warmoth, because when they started making roasted maple necks, and forgive me, I'd have to look it up, but I want to say 2015, somewhere around 2015, plus or minus a year or two, I decided I wanted to try one, because unfinished necks are great, but they're also unstable up until this point. And this is a beautiful neck. There's no other reason this headstock's cracked other than my own mistake. But when I did it, I just kind of sent a follow-up to Warmoth and said, hey, I did this completely myself, but you might want to, in the description, in the wood selector, talk about how it's a little more brittle. You might want to be a little more careful on how you do your pilot holes, et cetera, et cetera. And I got kind of a snooty response from him, and it really put me off on Warmoth for a long time, because I really wasn't blaming anything on them. I was just looking to give them some customer feedback on how it might help them communicate with their customers. Because in that podcast, I haven't watched the whole thing. I watched maybe the first third or half of it or something. It revolves around, helping customers make decisions during the selection process, because there are a lot of options. At the point I bought and made the guitar that originally had this neck on it, I think I might have made 12 Warmoths. I even built a couple Carvin guitar kits when they used to make their guitar kits. So again, I'm not a hack, but I'm certainly not a luthier either. But I was just a little put off by the way they responded to it. I'm not sure if I've bought anything from Warmoth since I got that snooty response from them, and that's what. Again, whatever year they started selling their roasted maple necks, it's been a while, which is too bad, because the only reason I don't consider this guitar complete is this is a Strat neck in a Telecaster body. And if you're not familiar, a Strat neck will fit in a Telecaster body, but a Telecaster neck will not fit in a Stratocaster body. And at some point I do want to get a regular Telecaster neck for this. But this is still a nice warm. I just put some fresh strings on it. This one feels like a standard thin neck, which is not thin, by the way. I think it's what they call their wizard neck, is the super thin one. So if you want a pretty standard feeling neck, I would suggest going for the standard thin. It's a very comfortable neck. This one looks like it's the 1 11/16 nut width. 1 5/8 I think is more of a vintage width. So I have pretty strong string spacing, which does fit the spacing over the Seymour Duncans. I want to say this bridge spacing is standard spacing, not F spacing or trem spacing. Now remember, F spacing or trem spacing is the old Fender string spacing, which is a little wider. That only comes into play on those types of bridges, those vintage style Fender bridges, if they have what's called F spacing or trem spacing, you want to consider getting pickups that have that same spacing when you're putting a guitar together. That's something to keep in mind. This body was originally, when I first built this, I had Invader pickups in it. I wanted the highest output pickups I could find that weren't active, because I really wanted to drive the tube amp I had at the time into some really thick natural saturation. At that point, I was still kind of against pedals. I really just wanted to do the organic overdrive thing through an amp. But over the years, this thing's had so many iterations. This is really the only damage. I don't know if you can see that there. I've actually taken these ferrules out a couple times and used them for other guitars and then pulled them out and put it back in, so the finish is a little dinged up. So this guitar no doubt has some battle scars, but it's a great sounding guitar. And with these pickups, the mahogany body, I want to say this is an ebony fretboard. Before I hit record here, I think this is a straight 10-inch radius neck. Personally, I do not like or recommend compound radius necks. Back in the day, I had a couple Charvels with the compound radius, like in the 80s. I've had a couple Warmoths with the compound radius. Just not a fan. I'd rather have one radius up and down the fretboard. I am pretty sure these look like the medium. I don't know if they're 6105s or 6150 frets. But they're very consistent. That's the thing I really love the most about Warmoth, is you will get perfect stuff. I've never had something come from Warmoth. I've never had a bad fret. I've never had a weird fret end. The nut has always been real close, if not spot on. Even if it's not spot on, I mean, they have no idea what strings and what body your neck's going to get matched to, et cetera, et cetera. And having said that, they have a very consistent process for the initial cut on the nuts for these things. All of the holes are always in place, right where they should be, at the right pilot size. Warmoth is, I don't know why they aren't talked about more. Even way back when, they were still kind of like the underground king. You can get a pretty much 100% custom guitar from them at a third of the price of just a vanilla Les Paul or any of these other frou-frou companies that want to charge you $5,000-$6,000 for a guitar. You could probably get into a guitar like this. I don't know. I haven't looked at how their pricing is lately, but I think this guitar and this neck's way newer. Again, this is the roasted maple. Whenever they started making them versus an older mahogany body, they custom cut the pick guards, so you can choose every aspect of the pick guard you want. I really do love Warmoth. I've just been put off by them for a number of years now. But I love this one, and you'll see me playing my other Warmoth quite a bit. The black one with the single Gemini pickup in it. That one's Swamp Ash. But, I did a lot of learning building Warmoths because I have my one custom guitar, which has been on this channel a lot. First thing I realized with that custom guitar is I didn't know what the hell I wanted, which is what drew me to the early Carvins and then in ordering Warmoth parts. Is I wanted to go through the process of learning, do I care? Do I have a preference on the neck shape, the radius, the frets, the fret material, the fret size, the fretboard material, the nut material? Do I care about the tuners? Do I care about the bridge? Do I care about the body? Personally, I think the neck has more to do with the overall tone of a guitar than the body. I have never noticed a significant difference in the body. I've noticed a significant difference on how the neck is attached to the body. I don't know if any of you have ever done what's called, I call it cracking the neck. Once you have it, put together, you have it tuned up. You just slightly loosen the bolts back here until you hear the neck go. I call it cracking the neck. That's the tension of the guitar pulling it and seating it as far as it can possibly go into the neck pocket. Then you snug them back down, and you will get better sustain. You will get better tone if you do that with any bolt-on neck guitar you have. I do that with all my bolt-on neck guitars. I get them all put together, and careful with this, tuned up. Just start with the two bolts closest to the bridge, just ever so slightly loosen them, and then loosen the top two just a little bit until you'll hear the neck go, and it's just the sound of the neck settling completely in under the string tension, and then snug them back down. And you will have better sustain and tone on your guitar, more so than any special tone wood or anything. Even my Jaguar, which I did a recording with yesterday, that thing has great sustain. And yes, I'm using a little compression, but not that much. There's compression off. And it's hard to tell, but believe me, try it on one of your bolt-on neck guitars. So there you go. There's my Warmoth. Let's do a little jam with it. I'm also experimenting with adding a reverse delay to the output of my sound on sound loop and my automatically recording loopers on my Astral Temple patch. So let's see what we get. All right, so definitely a lot warmer of a sounding guitar than I remember it. It had been so long since I played this thing, it still had flat wounds on it. It's been a while since I had flat wounds on a guitar. Um, and the strings I'm currently using are the Fender Voodoo Child strings, which is, what is that? Tens with a light top end or nines with a heavy bottom end, whatever, however you want to describe it. The action is really low on this. This might be the lowest action I have on a guitar. It might even be lower than my SG. It's kind of fun revisiting this. It's funny. I've had this thing is I literally glued this headstock together with Elmer's wood glue, and it has been through 3 moves. I've moved 3 times since I did this, from the Midwest to North Carolina here, winters, summers, humidity, dry, and it still hasn't fallen apart. I just keep telling myself when this thing finally falls apart, I'll order a new neck for it. But here I am, whatever, 10 years later, something like that, 8, 10 years later, maybe 12 years later, and this neck is still just fine. Yeah, Warmoth, great stuff. Again, I can't think of a single YouTube video in the whole YouTube guitar video verse other than Warmoth produced videos where somebody talks about their Warmoth. Why is that? They've been around for so long. They make amazing stuff, and they're worthy of the credit for the value they present and the customizability. Again, the only problem a company like Warmoth really presents is, most of us out there think we know what we like, order it, get it, and you think, oh, that's not actually what I like. I thought I liked. So I had one of my carving kits had the mahogany body and the maple neck, and that thing just sung. I mean, it played terrible, didn't sound very good. I probably could have worked on it a little bit and got it to sound better, but I could not get it to play better. But that thing, you would not believe how singing that thing sounded, and it was just their Bolt guitar. So I figured, ooh, that's what it is. The mahogany body with the maple neck is the magic combo for me. No, it's not. It just happened to be those two pieces of wood resonated well together. So it doesn't happen too often on consumer stuff like this. I should have kept that thing and made it work, but that thing's long gone. And this one has existed. This body alone was in a storage in Wisconsin for, I want to say, 4 years, 5 years. Just no climate control, nothing. Hot, cold, hot, cold. In Midwestern winters and in Midwestern summers, and here it sits. Sounded just fine to me. Nice, warm, almost mellow sounding guitar. At least today it sounds that way with this particular setup. I'm not going to redo any of my settings just for this thing, but yeah, I highly recommend Warmoth. If you have questions on it, like I said, I might have built 14 or 15 of them at this point on my little search for what I like with guitars. So feel free to ask if you have any questions on it. I could certainly dive deeper into the whole microcosm that is finding, your own custom this and that guitar. Like, for instance, I've found that I like vintage tuners. I don't need anything fancy. Vintage tuners work just fine for me. I have guitars with all kinds of different tuners on them, but the ones I really like, as far as being able to wind the strings on the way I like to, and staying in tune without any sort of locking nut or any special treatment to the nut, I'm just fine with the vintage tuners. Hard to go wrong with a JB and a JN on a guitar. There's other things I might experiment with on this thing over the years, but until I get that final neck on here, I'm not going to consider this one done. So I don't know. If there's interest in this, maybe I'll do a run through my other Warmoth I have. Through various parts, I've just cobbled together these final 2 Warmoths only because I haven't bought anything from them in a long time. Again, I kind of was put off by the response I got out of just trying to give them honest customer feedback. And I certainly wouldn't recommend you not experiment with Warmoth because they present what, in my mind, for most of us, Warmoth is probably one of the best companies in the world for guitar parts. If you're comparing quality to value, none of them come close in my mind, and they're very accessible. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on Warmoth, and a little quick revisit to one of my Warmoths. And I'm always I'm not gonna try and people buy all the decals and put different. No, if this is a Warmoth, you're gonna have the Warmoth sticker on there. If Warmoth's cool with people having cracked headstocks, people are gonna see cracked headstocks with the Warmoth sticker on there. So this is 100% a Warmoth. And I love the fact that it's still kicking over the years in its current Frankenstein incarnation.